Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Mystical Human Senses, written by Marilyn of Many. Getting woken up by a face full of sunlight was something that I had expected to leave behind when I boarded a ship for deep space, especially since the ship in question was crewed entirely by tunnelers, the eyeless species that gets by on sonar. They hadn't made the ship, but they had customized it, and that included covering all the big windows with armor, much to the disappointment of the human female who joined them. But it turned out they hadn't covered the smallest windows. As I blinked and squinted up at the wall that was pouring floodlight brilliance into my room, I discovered that the circle I had taken for simply part of the wall was clear. Probably foot-thick plastic of transparent aluminium or some alien material made from a space bee honey. Doesn't matter. It was letting in far too much light for whatever o'clock it was, and that made it part of the conspiracy. The ship seemed designed to prevent me from sleeping for a full cycle, no matter what I did. On my first night, I'd found that the original owners had left their morning alarm set to stupid early. The lights blinked on at the butt crack of dawn and refused to turn off. I'd asked other crewmates about it and been soundly laughed at. How could they know something keyed up to my weird human senses was set in their own rooms? I left it at that, instead digging up a translator module for the language of the hardskins who'd made the ship, so that I could figure out the control panel's advanced settings. There'd been a bookshelf installed in front of the thing. On my second night of the ship, I'd woken to the wee hours to discover that the innocuous tube over the door glowed a worrisome, flickering orange during warp jumps. I'd turned my bed to face the opposite wall, which is what led to the current, irritating blast of morning sun. I covered my face with blankets, but no luck. The damage was done. With a long, suffering sigh, I threw off the blankets and stared at the ceiling. A spot of graffiti that I hadn't seen before caught my eye. My communicator was in reach. I keyed on the translator function and focused it on the alien text. Would it be a warning about the light timer, maintenance tips on some quirk of the system? No, it would not. The translator displayed, "Ha ha, you can't see this." I grinned. That almost made up for the rude awakening. I sat up for fine proper clothing. As I climbed into my favorite jumpsuit with many pockets, the light started to fade. I blinked. No, the light was definitely fading. I zipped the suit up and stepped onto the bed, peering out the porthole. I expected to see a local sun eclipsed by an asteroid or a moon, or see signs that the ship was changing course. But the pattern of stars was stationary, and there was no sunset in view. There was, however, the remains of a distant explosion. I saw the flaming gases spreading out and beginning to be quenched, while the traffic jam of shrapnel flickered in the reflected light. It was all so far away that I climbed down to paw through my duffel bag in search of my telescope. Suitably armed, I hopped back up for a better look. That was the most definitely an explosion or a camouflaged asteroid base unless I missed my guess. The kind that stored fuel and munitions for the ongoing battle against the raiders. Fuel plus oxygenated air combined to make a showy fireball, and while most of the chunks had been launched away for parts unknown, some had collided with the nearby space debris and stayed within easy viewing range. They all had a glow of alien tech on the broken side. Something flickered past my focus range, and I pulled the telescope away before looking back. It was a spacecraft, painted black and probably invisible when it wasn't backlit by fire. A pretty distinct shape though. One long spike surrounded by a ring of smaller ones connected at the base, like a splash of water turned to icicles. Like one of the enemy raiding ships. I scrambled off my bed and out the door, only pausing to grab a forehead light in case more of the pin left on for years' illumination needed repair. It was good that I did. The hallway panels were intact, but the phosphorescent moss in the one long stretch was finally being cleaned away. I kept my exclamations of annoyance to myself as I jogged past a pair of workers. Also, my unflattering opinion of the species' appearance. Ever seen a naked mole rat? Then you're halfway there. These guys were a little more civilized. They wear clothes and trim their gnawing teeth and all that good stuff. They also have skin-patterned and unpredictable calico splotches, which I'm 100% certain they are unaware of. These two were aware of me. They regarded me steadily as I approached, and my verbal, "Hi there," they turned back to work. Tunnelers greeted each other with double blasts of sonar instead of a wave and a smile. Saying something aloud was the best that I could do. I sighed at the loss of that oh-so-helpful moss and its pale green glow, but put it from my mind. Around the next corner was a medical center, home of the best lighting on the whole ship, and also the closest thing to a friend that I'd made in the last couple days. Hildy Herent, the lead medic, had agreed to let me hang out and read in the corner after I proved helpful in diagnosing Gamdelurian spear nose bite. The poor fellow's symptoms were the same as a handful of other ailments, except for the distinctive rash, which neither he nor Lildy could see. There were no patients in front office now, just Lildy organizing medical supplies. Her back was to the door. She jumped at my, "Hey, Lildy." "Robin," she said, "you are so quiet. Maybe you could hum in place of a sonar?" "I think that would annoy anybody, including me," I said, slightly out of breath. "Maybe," she admitted, setting down an armload of jars. Are you here with more medical insights?" "No," I said, and then the jars caught my eye, "but half of those have gone bad." Are you sure?" "Yeah, pretty sure. It's a mold pattern if I've ever seen one. You may want to check all of them, but that's beside the point. There's at least one raider ship close by, and it blew up something technological. I need you to get me to the captain. The security guys won't listen to me alone." Lildy asked for details, and I gave them, talking quickly and making more of a few wild gestures. She probably caught all of them. If previous interactions were any judge, she was probably sonic mapping me continually. Got to keep track of those spindly human limbs and the tendency to move around. When I'd finished convincing her that my mysterious sense of eyesight over smell had detected a hostile ship of a sort that would be invisible, unsentable to the folks on the bridge, and which had just destroyed something far enough away that the shrapnel hadn't reached us yet. Then she was all set to help me convince the captain. If we were next on the target list, the raiding ship would know that only tunnelers patrolled this region. They'd be counting on the visible explosion to be ignored. They might have allies arrowing towards us now, hard on the heels of the shrapnel. If the captain had been a different sort, he might have already been using the advanced detection systems that the ship came with. The Hardskins had included a translator for visual to sonar, but I'd heard more than one crew member complain about the grating of the sound and the affront to the tunneler ego, and the fact that it really wasn't necessary when the auto-navigation was exceptional for their planet-to-planet hops. Surely the radar scanning the path in front of them was enough. There was a tunneler motto to the effect of, "Dig forward and don't worry about the rest of the soil." That was fine and dandy for social metaphors and relationship drama, but it was about to get us blasted to space dust. "We need our shielding up fast," Lildy said as she ushered me out of the doorway and pulled a membrane from the wall to shut it. This looked like a transparent eyelid, just as gross as you would think. She pressed the nanotech control panel to lock the door, and her hand sank past the wrist before withdrawing cleanly. Also, pretty gross. "Can you detect oncoming ships?" she asked me. I grimaced as I followed the brisk pace she set. "Maybe, if they happen to fly in front of that fire, or the sun, or I might be able to spot their shadows passing over stars, but I'll have to be looking in the right place." Lildy waved away. "The fact that you know the layout of the enemy Lancer despite not having boarded one or touched a model should be enough to make the captain listen. he can activate the detection systems of the hard skins. We have both the technology and the technicians. She made a rude noise. Just not the patients. But you did not hear that from me. Oh no, I'm right there with you. My first and only meeting with the captain had started with the discovery that the lights on the bridge were all dead except for one flickering exit light. The captain had had little patience for his new human with the extra senses shuffling forward blindly. My explanation never made it out of the starting gate, and the conversation went downhill from there. This time would be different. I had a senior officer vouching for me, and I had valuable information. I also had a strong feeling that Lildy wasn't leading me towards the bridge. "Where are we going?" I asked. "To the captain's home space," she said. "He won't be awake yet. I'm only up because I had an urgent case." Lildy shook her head as she hurried along. "It was nothing, but I am glad that I was there when you arrived." "Me too," I agreed. Then I smiled broadly, and I get to wake up the captain. Wouldn't that be nice? It's definitely his turn. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Parky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Azrakul, and Arcadian.